would like to thank the leadership of CUEE for the invitation to be here today to share with you our experience helping build the Latin American venture capital industry and venture capital ecosystem. As I mentioned, I co-founded Monashees 20 years ago, together with my partner and co-founder Fabio Igel in 2005, when it was a very, very different time in the region, in Brazil, in each of the countries of Latin America. We are both born and raised in Brazil. I had lived in the United States for a few years. I started my career at McKinsey in Brazil and then in Chicago. And then I worked for a US investment firm called General Atlantic back in 1999 during the dot-com boom days. That's when I had the idea of starting a venture capital firm in Latin America, in Brazil. And then we ended up starting it in 2005. We are an early stage tech VC fund. We invest mostly in Latin America, but we consider today ourselves to be a global LATAM investor. We also invest outside of Latin America in Latin American founders building global companies. I will share with you a couple of slides to illustrate, what Monashees is and what happened in the last 20 years in the venture capital ecosystem in Latin America. And then I will go through some thoughts and ideas on where we are and what's happening now and the trends for venture capital here in our region in Latin America. I will share a first slide to give you a snapshot of what Monashees is, and then an overview of the last 20 years. Let's see if you can see this slide.
Yes, we
is
can
this
see.
okay? I think it's okay. Okay, great. So I'll jump to the first slide, which is a Monashees snapshot, to give you some numbers instead of just talking about the firm. Well, as I mentioned, we started in 2005. We have raised 12 funds, 12 investment funds. 10 of these funds are early stage funds to invest in companies when they are really starting up. And 2 funds were opportunity funds. So are funds that are pockets of capital to invest in the later rounds of the best portfolio companies. We have raised a total of $1.4 billion from limited partners, from investors, from all over the world to invest in the region. We have invested since 2005, our team, in 152 companies, and we have helped entrepreneurs build 11 companies that are valued or were valued at exit at above $1 billion. We just, remember that when we invest going in, we invest either in the Series A or the seed round, which is very early. So to build $1 billion plus companies in Latin America, we know there were not many, 20 years ago. And today, of course, entrepreneurs have done an incredible job building a new generation of tech companies that are really thriving and are world-class companies. Our companies, these 152 companies, they have raised altogether $11.9 billion from growth investors to build their businesses in the region. It's a remarkable number. I will show you in the next slide because this number was virtually inexistent 20 years ago. Most of this capital comes from international investors. One of the important things that we need to do in our region is to develop more local growth investors, investors from Latin America that will invest in the later rounds, the Series Bs and Cs and Ds of these technology companies. So we become more self-sufficient in terms of the supply of capital. I think this is a natural next step of the development of the industry in the region. But attracting this number, almost $12 billion, also has been remarkable for the region and represents around 24% of all the venture capital investments in Latin America since 2010, which was actually the year that the industry really started, in our opinion, in Brazil, the VC, the tech VC industry. So this means that a total of almost $50 billion were invested in technology companies since 2010 in Latin America. And it's really important to see how remarkable this number is, because before 2010, as I said, there was virtually nothing. A profile of our LPs, of our investors, on the right of the slide, we have raised our capital, the $1.4 billion, from 74 major LPs, which are investors from different countries. So most of these were from the US, a good number from Latin America, but we also have investors from Asia and also from Europe. In the next slide, and we are today, I think it's important to say that we are a team of 28 people at Monashees. So we are a partnership of 5 general partners, 3 investment partners, 3 non-investment partners, and 28 people in total. Today we have our headquarters in São Paulo, but we also have an office in Mexico City with 3 people in Mexico City. This slide is about the last 20 years. So you can see, in 2005, when we started, virtually there was no venture capital being invested in the region. I'm not going to go through all the details here, but you see that after 2010, actually this number starts to, slowly going up with $200 million, then 600, then 1 billion, in 2014, we crossed that mark. And during those years, a first generation of companies, of world-class tech companies, were built in Brazil, especially, which became actually the first very large companies like Nubank, for example. We also had the first unicorn in the region was 99, the ride-hailing company acquired by Didi in 2018. And as talking about Colombia here, which is very important for the conversation today, Rappi became the first unicorn in Colombia also in 2018. At the same time, we had the first unicorn in Brazil in 2018. A quick side note here, we at Monashees invested in Rappi, in the seed round of Rappi in 2016. And that was a very, very important partnership for us, because Rappi was our first meaningful investment in a startup outside of Brazil. So Colombia is very special for us because of that. Until 2016, we were focusing exclusively on Brazil. And then starting in 2016, we started to look at other countries in Latin America. And the first country that we looked at was Rappi. And then, of course, after that, we had this hype between 2019 and 21, where it really reached a peak of $17 billion invested in venture capital in the region. Many other liquidity events, many other M&As and IPOs. And it was a hype time because of the abundance of capital, because of the zero interest rates of the time. So maybe there was too much capital. SoftBank raised a $5-6 billion investment fund to invest in Latin America. So it was a time of maybe an excess of capital and over appreciation of the industry. And naturally, as we understand these cycles, starting in 2023, we started a correction cycle, or an overcorrection after an overappreciation. So there was a strong drop in the amount of capital invested, but then it's going up again, and we project it to go above the pre-COVID numbers that we see in the slide. So there was a very important first cycle of venture capital in the region since 2010. Everything is cyclical. We are now preparing for the next positive cycle that will come in the next few years in the whole region. Colombia took off as a very important ecosystem, and also Mexico as another important ecosystem. I will stop sharing, so I go back here to share a few experiences that we have transforming this Latin America in the industry of technology and venture capital. So I think we all that are involved in this industry have to be proud from, taking this industry in 2010 to where it is today in 2015. We are only halfway through a second 10-year cycle of the industry. It's very early in the process. So to compare, the United States, which is the most mature tech VC market, the United States is more than 53 years since the first VC fund, Sequoia, was created. So it's more than 5 cycles. And it takes time. It takes a few cycles to build this industry. It's a long-term industry. The entrepreneurial journey is a long cycle. It takes 10 years. And there are lots of risks involved. So 10 years and 15 years, which is the time since 2010, it's very recent. So there are many gaps still in the ecosystem, but we have to look at what was achieved, and it was a lot. So when we look, for example, at Colombia, we had the opportunity to partner with 10 companies in Colombia since 2010. Is a very relevant country for our portfolio. And we have companies like Rappi, like Adi, or Symmetric, or Uno, and others that are really thriving. And one characteristic that we see in the Colombian market is this level of ambition from entrepreneurs to really look outside, also outside of Colombia, to really prove the product in Colombia, and then look at the rest of the region, either Mexico or Brazil, to expand their businesses. I think this is very unique and very important when you compare with entrepreneurs from Brazil or from Mexico, which are larger local markets. You don't see the same incentives and you don't see the same ambitions because the local markets are so large. So these entrepreneurs tend to look more at the domestic market, and the international expansion is more marginal. So I think it's very unique and special about Colombian entrepreneurs, this ability to build companies that actually cross borders. This is especially important today when you see companies like Symmetric or Uno that are even crossing the borders of Latin America and becoming international global companies. We really see this as the next frontier for the development of the region. We started with companies that were looking at local markets, and then today it's more natural to see companies looking at pan-regional Latin American markets. But with the creation of really world-class companies in the region, we are seeing the level of ambition, the level of confidence, and the level of experience of entrepreneurs from Latin America just getting to a different level. And this is incredible for all of us, because what we wanted from the beginning when we started Monashees is really to help create the positive examples of very successful companies that can create jobs and revolutionize markets, not only locally, but companies that can be really iconic and have a really strong and great impact. And we're going step by step in that direction. And we have been really impressed by other countries in Latin America, especially Colombia, that have shown that quality of the entrepreneurial energy. We always believed that in Latin America we have incredible entrepreneurs, and it's just a matter of time until these entrepreneurs will create companies that will be global or will be really innovative. Until today, the market has been more characterized by an execution type of risk and less of innovation risk. But we are gradually also going, not only companies that want to have a global impact, but companies that are more and more innovative. And with that in mind, as I mentioned before, we also decided, starting with our Fund 9 in 2019, to invest in Latin American entrepreneurs outside of Latin America. So we have a few companies that are really thriving, founded by Latin American entrepreneurs in the US and Europe. There is the example of Music AI, for example, a team of Brazilians building an AI for music company that is really a leading company with 50 million users around the world, very significant revenue, growing, profitable. Just closed a very important investment round, won the Apple iPad app of the year last year. So it's just an important example of a company that is really competing in AI worldwide, globally, with a team of Latin American entrepreneurs. So I just wanted to give you an example as something that aspirational and that will help guide the quality and the ambition of the local entrepreneurs. We've had several success stories so far in Latin America, but looking at the future, I'm really convinced that the future is very bright, even though we're going through a correction period, which is part of the cycle. But the companies being built today by these experienced entrepreneurs are at a different level of quality. So the fact today that we have entrepreneurs becoming angel investors, becoming advisors, helping other entrepreneurs, it has a multiplying effect that is very powerful in the region. So we see the next cycle, the next 10, 15, 20-year cycle, an incredible cycle because of what was built in the region, but also because of the moment in the cycle of the new tech platform of artificial intelligence. On purpose, I didn't want to really kind of talk a lot about AI. We're all looking and listening about AI every day. It is true, it's happening. Virtually all of the new companies that we see today, that we invest today, have an AI angle, AI first, or AI being applied. And I really believe that this will help us in the region leapfrog the quality of companies and the solutions, especially in verticals and sectors that are so important for Latin America. So we are waiting to see innovation happening in health, in education, and other very important sectors that previously technology hasn't been able to really make a big change. Besides, of course, the natural fintech and prop tech and natural SaaS and software businesses. So the future will be really interesting and promising and incredible. And I really believe that where we are today and what was built we will put Latin America at a different level. And Colombia has a very special role in this process. So again, it's only 20 minutes. Of course, this is a very broad topic that I could talk for hours here. Very happy to be here today to share a little bit of our experience. Thank you again. And of course, I'd be happy to, if you want to send any questions at some point, happy to answer them. Thank you very much.